Welcome on to the Wise Guys podcast. I'm John Tortorelli with Brian Capozziello and Justin Wright. This is episode number 78. We'll be discussing Daniel Jones seeking $45 million. The Jets taking their visit with Derek Carr. Aaron Rodgers coming out his darkness retreat. Offseason previews for the Jaguars and Titans, along with Nate McMillan being fired in Atlanta as we then shift gears in the second half to the Hawks with a couple of big-time buyout signings. Brandon, Russell Westbrook to your Clippers. How about that move? How about that?
I'm not having it.
Yeah.
So the reports were Daniel Jones wants $45 million. He switched agencies recently. And when you switch agents, it's not because you want less money, it's because you want more. Just admit it to you, New Yorker, the one that's seen the development of Daniel Jones over the last 4 years, and the one on this show that I think is the most honest when it comes to DJ. How much is Daniel Jones really worth? And is that number anywhere near 45 million?
First off, I take offense to that face that Brandon made. And two, no, absolutely not. He's not worth no $45 million. But the thing is, the way the market seems to be going for quarterbacks, the price tag is only getting higher and higher and higher. But to pay a quarterback $45 million and they're not even a top 15, would you consider Daniel Jones even top 15? Probably not.
I want to consider him top 20.
So I would give him more of an argument for a top 20 than top 15. But I mean, yeah, he's had a career high in yards, career high in completion percentage, a career low in turnovers. So he had a fantastic year considering that he didn't have any standout number one on the outside. But that's one season. That's one season. And granted, yes, that's a season with Brian Daboll and, seeing what this new coaching staff can do with him. He still threw only 15 touchdowns. Are you paying a quarterback $45 million for 15 touchdowns? Now, if he can turn into a QB that's throwing maybe 25 touchdowns and still rushing for 7 to 10 touchdowns while keeping that low turnover rate, then maybe we can have a conversation. But he did not show you that he deserved $45 million. And then what happens if Saquon Barkley walks in free agency? What version of Daniel Jones are we actually getting? I think that's something that a lot of people are forgetting. Saquon and the Giants still haven't came to terms on a deal yet. If he's gone, now Daniel Jones loses another big weapon. I just think it's kind of ridiculous where this QB money is coming from, because guys like Derek Carr and then Daniel Jones are going to be getting paid out of the wazoo, and yet we all know they're not taking you to a Super Bowl. So why are you paying them that much? If you're going to pay them, I don't know what the QB market is. Everybody seems like they're going to be making $45 million. If Daniel Jones could command that much, then I could only imagine what other people will make. If he's making, I per se, $25-30 million, right? That's still a lot in my eyes, but that's just the way the market is. If he's making $25-30 million, you have enough money to fill your roster, and then you can say, okay, maybe you can put a team around him where he can lead them to a Super Bowl. But if he's taking a huge cap hit like that, where you can't surround him with the talent that he needs to succeed, then what are you paying him for? You might just be better off going to draft a quarterback and starting over again.
To answer that first question real quick, the reason why you would pay them that much is because what are your other options if you're the Giants?
That's a good question. What are your options? Caleb Williams?
Too
Well,
late for that.
I mean, the options would be obviously, Mr. Rogers, Derek Carr's out there, Lamar, maybe draft a QB. But yeah, I just saw a report that apparently the Giants and Saquon are not going to be coming to a deal. That the Giants aren't willing to pay Saquon what he wants.
This is breaking news.
I don't know if it's official. I saw a report. I know JQ retweeted it. I don't think it's official yet, but I think that report is kind of saying that things are headed in the wrong direction in terms of re-signing him. But Justin, you asked the QB market, so I pulled up the contracts of QBs for last year. So Rodgers made $50 million, Russell made $49, Kyler made $46, Deshaun made $46, Patrick made 45. Josh made 43. Stafford made 40. Dak made 40. Kirk made 35. Jared made 33. Carson made 32. Matt Ryan made 30. Ryan Tannehill made 29. Brady made 25. And then there's a drop off after that.
So question. So outside of Brady, where does he fit in that?
He should be making
in the Jared Goff range?
No, I don't even think he should be making what Ryan Tannehill makes.
That's around 29 million per.
Yeah, I think he should be making less than that because right now I have Daniel Jones as the 26th quarterback in the NFL.
Okay.
I have him behind Brock Purdy, behind Justin Fields, behind Kenny Pickett, behind Jameis Winston, behind Tua Tagovailoa.
Okay. Wow.
I think he's better than.
So I'm lower on Daniel Jones than most BC, but I mean, to me, he's the 20th to like a best case scenario.
Well, then which one is he better than? He's not better than Tua. I mean, you guys were literally
hurt all last year. He was a turnover machine when he played. He hasn't been good in years. He never was good in Tampa Bay. Daniel Jones has gotten better.
Come on, you can't say he was never good. The guy, I know he turned the ball over 33 times.
Best season, he went 30 for 30 with a 60% completion percentage, and he won 7 games with elite weapons that a year later went to the Super Bowl.
Yes, but he still threw for 5,000 yards.
I don't care.
I understand that. I understand he turned the ball over, but he still put up great numbers.
I don't care if you're losing games. What does that mean?
Right,
like Bradley Beal put up 30 points per game in Washington. I don't care.
All right, fine. You can take him over.
Daniel Jones is better than Jameis. Let's get that.
That's fine. Take him over Jameis. I'm not taking him over Tua. Are you taking him over Tua?
No.
You guys were don't be questioning it now. When all last season, John, you were stopping the desk saying Tua Tagovailoa this, Tua Tagovailoa that. I don't want to hear this backtrack again with you, man. You change your mind way too much. All right, so Tua's over him. Kenny Pickett. Who are you taking for the future? You taking Kenny or you taking Daniel Jones?
Long term, KP.
Okay then.
Yeah,
all right, Justin Fields.
Justin Fields.
Okay then. Brock Purdy.
I'm taking DJ over Brock.
No, you're not. You're a fool. You're such a. Yo, I
if
can't
you
talk
put
to this
Daniel
guy.
in San Francisco,
I can't talk when you switch up.
Well, he has
talk to you.
Granted, he did say once even during the season, if you put Daniel Jones in San Francisco.
No, I don't want to hear it. I'm sorry. I don't want to hear it. I can't talk to you when you switch up like that so quickly and so easily. I
never said once that Brock Purdy's better than DJ. All I said was that Brock wasn't.
Dude, you were saying Brock was better than Jimmy G.
Yeah, Daniel's better than Jimmy G. I have Jimmy G at like the 27th best quarterback in the league, probably. He's one of the best backups.
With no facts to back that up. You just said it. You had no facts to back it up because Jimmy G has a better winning percentage. He's been to farther in the playoffs. So what facts do you have to back up that Daniel Jones is better?
He's a way better athlete than Jimmy G. He's more durable. He's more accurate.
He's never finished a full season. Same with Jimmy G.
His first year, he played 12 games, and since being a starter, he never got hurt that year. This year, he
never played a full season.
I'm pretty sure this year he played 16 games.
There's 17.
And you put me on the spot here.
I'm almost positive the guy's never played.
His rookie year, he started 12 games. Second year started 14. Third year started 11. This year started 16.
See, he's never played a full season. So yes, is he more durable? Okay, now we're splitting hairs. They're both not.
All right, well, he's a way better athlete. He's more accurate, and I think he's better evading pressure in the pocket. He's better maneuvering around. He's got better pocket presence.
You have to back that up.
He's more accurate. This year, 67% completion percentage, way worse weapons.
Okay,
considering the offensive line he had, which was one of the worst in football,
can he be called a one-hit wonder then?
I'm talking about Daniel Jones, what he showed this year in his development. I mean, he had no O-line. Jimmy has had pretty good O-lines and way better weapons. I mean, oftentimes he's had to drop it off to George Kittle or Deebo Samuel, and they can take it 25 yards. DJ is a quarterback I would rather have. Hence, he is a better player.
No, your switch up is really. I mean, you're trying to be slick, but your switch up game is terrible.
This isn't about me. It's about DJ.
Oh yeah,
I understand it's about, but I'm talking to you right now about Daniel Jones.
Let's talk about DJ, man.
We are talking about Daniel Jones. We are talking about him. We're also talking about how you've switched up so easily. We're
I don't think this is great podcast. Just the back and forth between this imaginary belief that I was coming at Brock Purdy and saying, or coming at DJ saying that DJ was worse than Brock. I never said that.
No, you never said that, but you were hyping Brock up to be. I mean, I'm almost positive there are points where you're saying Brock is is on track to be a top 15 quarterback or something like that. I'd have to pull up the tape and listen to it back. Bro,
Jones is too.
You guys were praising Brock Purdy up the what, bro? The first game you were talking out your ass about him. Like, let's not act like you guys weren't doing that. Come on.
Right?
For
But just because we're doing that doesn't mean that Daniel Jones can't be better than him.
And the reason, Justin,
we're forgetting that he's playing in the greatest and probably the best roster.
I'm not forgetting that. I was the one making that point.
But yeah, that's the thing. We're just praising the guy saying that he was capable of winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but you never brought up his weapons. You guys never brought up his weapons.
What do you mean we never brought up his weapons? We were talking about Kyle Shanahan and how he's benefited from that system.
Justin, the reason you and I were doing that, hyping up Brock Purdy, is because Brandon over here is saying that the 49ers season was over.
We're done. Yeah, he said that we're done.
No, we're saying this guy's good enough to win you games. And that was true. Brock Purdy is more than good enough to win every single game that he finished. That had nothing to do with Daniel Jones. I mean, relative to expectations, we had a high bar for Brock. We thought he could win games. You thought their season was over. So yeah, we were pretty high on him relative to most people, I guess. For Daniel Jones, we feel like the consensus is that a lot of people, especially, let's be honest, Giant fans that want to see the quarterback do well, reasonably so, they're looking at him as a franchise guy. I'm saying, well, no, he's a good starting average quarterback. He's not there. He could get there. Right now, he's probably right here. Brian Dable's, punching above his weight. That's all. That's all.
Is he better than Geno Smith, John?
I would rather have Geno.
I would say he is better than Geno. I'm still. That's a one-year wonder thing too.
So is Daniel Jones, though. Justin.
That's what I said. We can argue that.
I know. So is he better than Ryan Tannehill?
I think they're neck and neck.
Yes.
Neck and neck. Daniel Jones is better than Ryan Tannehill.
Yes. Ryan Tannehill has regressed. He's not. Are you telling me he's the?
Have regressed.
Are you telling me
his worst season is when Daniel Jones is better though?
He's still better than Daniel Jones, man. Like, I mean, come on now. This guy was a #1 seed in the AFC.
There's a weak AFC.
Yeah, with a very solid roster.
Yeah, very solid. But again, we can't do that, man. I'm not gonna sit here and do that. Where I'm gonna. You need the roster around you. All right.
Yeah.
So.
And look at Ryan Tannehill this year when his roster was totally different.
Okay.
But the fortunate thing is also, since he's gotten to Tennessee, he's had Mike Vrabel on his side.
Yeah.
Who has Daniel Jones' head coaches have been since before this year.
Not good.
Exactly.
Okay,
so his OC was Jason Garrett.
Okay. Yeah. We're arguing the fact how much this guy should make. So you're basically saying he should make more than Ryan Tannehill because you think he's better than Tannehill. So you think he should be making $30 million.
The way the QB market seems to be going.
This is the QB market I'm doing.
Okay, exactly. And I said the way it should be going. And first off, I think Ryan Tannehill signed his contract, 3 years ago? Mm-hmm. Okay, so now it's a different time. I do believe 30 to 35 is probably the best range for him. But I think anything higher than that is a bit extreme. I think 30 to 35 is extreme. I don't think Ryan Tannehill should be making $29 million anyway.
I don't think so either.
I don't think Jared Goff should be making 33.
Then let's cut the bullshit then. We all agree that none of these guys should be making this much money.
If I got to play it realistic, I'd say low 30s. But he's not biting that.
No, let's cut the BS and let's just talk realistic. Let's not talk in the fairy tale land that the NFL lives in, where these owners and these executives give this money because for some odd reason they don't want to make a mid-tier quarterback market. Okay, we all agree that yes, should Ryan Tannehill be making $29 million? No, he should be making probably closer to $20 million. Daniel Jones, same thing. All right, all these guys, Carson, even less, Matt Ryan, less. So for me, I feel like, I don't know, man. I'm not going to sit here and say Daniel Jones should not be sniffing anything near $45 million. Okay, if he gets $45 million, you realize he's making more than Josh Allen and just as much as Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the whole idea of next quarterback up, even though Daniel's 3 tiers below them.
Yeah, and that whole thing was created. The next quarterback up was created when the next elite quarterback was up. He was going to reset the market. Not a mid-tier or bottom-tier quarterback is going to reset the market. That's bogus. That's not how anything works in any walk of life. If I'm an average employee at a company, I'm not going to reset the market at that company and make more money than a top guy. That just doesn't make any sense.
And to be clear
That's right.
here, I don't think Daniel Jones is a bottom tier quarterback. I think he's somewhere in the middle and maybe slightly below average. Now, Daniel on a $30 million deal, I like a lot less than Daniel on a $6 or $7 million contract in that rookie scale. And I want to be very clear here. I think he's worth 25 plus million. I think 27, 28 for 3 years. You bite the bullet there because if you're New York, the guy won you a playoff game, and there is some value to that. He helped you get to the playoffs, and he did a good job this year. He's gotten better. He stayed healthy. He played through injuries, and he had little weapons. Now, do I think he has more work to do as a thrower down the field? Absolutely. And do I think DeAndre Hopkins will just fix that? No. The guy has to do a better job looking down the field, and I think that could help if he gets a better line too. I think he's around the 17th to 22nd best quarterback in the league. And yeah, I think those reports really just put out there, dropped in. One, because people want to clown the guy, or two, because the agent's trying to drive his market as much as he can. Anything more than 35 million would be really rich, and man, that agent would be doing a phenomenal job if he can get them, say, 4 years, 170 or something like that. Or I guess it would be 140, 130.
Hey, you got to wonder too. Brian Dable and Joe Shine, first year with the Giants now. A lot of times when you see that happen, they look for their own quarterback. So I wouldn't be surprised if Daniel Jones is signed to 2-3 year extension, and they still draft a quarterback this year.
That'd make a lot of sense. Use him as a bridge, and he'd be a great one.
Yep.
I think they're going to take Anthony Richardson. The more I think about it, and I've talked about A-Rich, he can go in the top 5, honestly. And the Giants, you know, they're far at that range, got that playoff win, but they are a candidate to trade up potentially here. Now,
Wait,
second,
so you think they're gonna pay Daniel and then
trade up to get
draft him?
A 2-year, $60 million deal, let's say, that's partially guaranteed. I mean, yeah, that's possible.
I think that deal's going to be a lot bigger than 60.
I don't like that at all.
If it's 2 years, it's going to be at least north of 70.
No way. I think what happens is they give him a 3-year deal for, let's say, 85, 60 of which guaranteed, and they look to see other options in the NFL draft, where they have not top 10 pick this year, but rather the 28th or 26th selection. 26. Damn.
Yeah, no, I don't. If I were the Giants, I'm not signing Daniel Jones to anything more than like maybe 25 million a year. I can't do it, man. Like I look at it realistically. I'm not gonna put, the rose-colored glasses on and be like, oh yeah, this guy made you could say massive improvements, but even look at the numbers, they're still not anything you're going to be like, wow, look at this. Look at Daniel Jones. Look at the numbers he put up. No, you're not going to do
Yeah, there's nothing that blows you away.
Would another team sign DJ for north of 30 million?
I mean, there's a sucker born every day. I wouldn't be surprised if you can Houston Texans maybe, or
I don't
a sucker team.
They have the second overall pick. I don't think they'd be doing that. I think a team in the NFC South between Tampa, Carolina, New Orleans does not have the salary, but I mean, even the Falcons, all of those teams need a quarterback badly, and DJ would be an upgrade for all 4 of them.
Yeah, I could see that.
All right, so BC had to leave us, but we're going to move on now to Derek Carr and the New York Football Jets. So earlier this week, the Jets had an interview with Carr, and now Aaron Rodgers is finally coming out that darkness retreat from Oregon, where he had time to contemplate some decisions, what he wants to do next in his NFL career. Does he want to play moving on after this last season or last couple of years? And so, Justin, I think the big question here is, should the Jets wait and maybe hold down a Derek Carr signing to see the potential reward of Aaron Rodgers? Or should they just sign Carr outright knowing what Rodgers is thinking, what his decision is going to be? It's a total unknown.
That's the tough situation here, is because you just never know what rabbit Aaron Rodgers is going to pull out of his hat. On one end, I think we can all agree if Derek Carr was suited up in a Jets uniform this past season, they probably make the playoffs pretty easily. They're probably an 11-12 win team with that defense. But are they a Super Bowl team? Do you view Derek Carr as a Super Bowl caliber quarterback? I'll tell you a report that I'm reading from Diana Rossini The Jets believe that if Derek Carr comes to New York, he can be a first ballot Hall of Famer if he wins. I think that's a bit extreme when we have never seen Derek Carr perform in the biggest stage. We've never seen him in those biggest moments. And while, yeah, he has led the Raiders to the playoffs, we've never seen anything spectacular. And then you're here gambling the thought of, okay, I can get Derek Carr, who hasn't proven himself in the playoffs, and then I can get a top 5 quarterback of all time in Aaron Rodgers, potentially, even if that's for 2 years. You make that move because at least Zach Wilson sits behind the guy and learns. You can't let Aaron Rodgers go by the wayside. If you got the opportunity to make that move and put your team in a position to make a Super Bowl run or at least contend for one, you make that move.
I think it should be a no-brainer. A lot of people look at Derek Carr and they say, kind of like Matthew Stafford in Detroit, if you put him in an environment that has the defense, has the receiver, has the running game, he'll take his game up a level. But this AFC is a lot different than the NFC of years past. We have 7 to 8 elite quarterbacks. Like, you think of Deshaun Watson in Cleveland, even Kenny Pickett developing in Pittsburgh, before you think of Derek Carr winning a playoff game with the Jets. Now, their window is kind of short because their defense, it's a couple of years until they have to start to pay guys. But Derek Carr is not going to lead you to the AFC Championship game. We've seen him play in one playoff game against the Bengals, and the defining moment of that game was him throwing short of the sticks with the game on the line, on 3rd or 4th down. And in the regular season last year, he didn't have an O-line, and we saw him really struggle in cold weather. In New York, where is he going to be playing? Buffalo, New England, Miami in the heat. In the regular season, I mean, getting Derek Carr would have last season made him a 12, 13-win team. But in the playoffs, he does not raise your ceiling that much. Sure, relative to Zach Wilson, he does. But the bar there is the 40th best quarterback, maybe the 40th. That might be a stretch here in the entire NFL. So if I'm the Jets, I'm taking a shot here and seeing if I can get Rodgers or 2 first-round picks. And if I don't, I'm falling back on Jimmy Garoppolo and seeing the draft if I can trade up to get a quarterback on a rookie contract, which to a lot of people may sound kind of unorthodox, right? Because even Lamar Jackson is available. But we know what it takes to beat we know what it takes to beat Patrick Mahomes today. That's finding a quarterback on a rookie contract that's making nothing for 4 years, not paying Derek Carr $37 million trying to lead you to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's a lot for me. And while I understand the move, I understand getting yourself a vet like him because he does improve this team immediately if he joins the squad. But the point is, if you're going to pay a quarterback that much money, your mindset is Super Bowl. Your mindset isn't, let me get into the playoffs with 11 wins. No. Yeah, there's, like you said, the AFC is loaded. Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence. The list goes on. Lamar Jackson. The list goes on and on. And you're telling me Derek Carr is going to rise above all of them? I mean, sure, Joe Flacco did it in the AFC a long, long time ago. So I guess
he did.
There is always that 1 year that can happen. And I don't want this to sound like I'm knocking Derek Carr whatsoever because I've picked him to win games in the regular season against Patrick Mahomes. But that's the thing. That's the regular season. This is a totally different animal. Has he ever got even past a wild card round? No. So we haven't even seen him in a divisional round. We haven't seen him in a conference championship. So it's just, that's a big if. I feel like, yeah, Aaron Rodgers is a big if because you just don't know how committed he is to actually playing football or being committed to your franchise, how he'll be. But at least you know what you're getting on the football field. You know what you can get, and you know the possibilities of what you can get when you're in the playoffs. With Derek Carr, you just don't know that.
Yeah, if you get Derek Carr and it doesn't work out, you say, okay, we shot too low, and we should have expected that. If it doesn't work with Aaron Rodgers, you say we took a shot and it didn't work out, but the shot was well worth it. The top 4 quarterback of all time that a year ago won an MVP in a less than desirable circumstance. I just look at Garrett Wilson and how great he was as a rookie. Put him up with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that makes you a Super Bowl contender instantly. It puts you above a team like Buffalo, and it makes you the best team in your division. That's one of the best divisions in football. Now, in the AFC hierarchy, it gives you a real chance to beat Kansas City, in a real one that you didn't have before. Now, what would be the best destination for Derek Carr, you think?
I think it would be a team in the NFC South. I could see him if
Big
he had
time.
wound up in a place like Tampa Bay. That'd be perfect with those weapons, Mike Evans, Godwin. Still need a run game, but
Mhm.
ultimately, that's a team that I feel like would be ready to win immediately if you throw in a Derek Carr.
I think it would be Carolina. Todd
Really?
Bowles is not a great head coach, but Frank Reich is a pretty good one. And that Panthers team has built a better and better offensive line through the years. They have good weapons that are up and rising. The defense doesn't have too many holes. I think the Panthers would be a 10-win team, and they would have a better chance of winning a playoff game next year than the Jets with Derek Carr because of how much easier it is to win in that conference. I mean, the best quarterbacks are Hurts. Kyler's going to be playing maybe 5 games, and then Matthew Stafford, who's got both an elbow and a neck injury or a spine injury.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, Derek Carr and Carolina, I think that'd be great for both sides.
Yeah, no, Carolina's actually not a bad fit. I didn't even think about that, honestly. We clowned that team because Brandon was so high on them going into the season, but they actually towards the end of it they started to find a little bit of momentum. Sam Darnold didn't look terrible, even though the last week wasn't fantastic. But for the most part, that last stretch, he was playing good football. Carolina looked like the football team that he had hope in. So yeah, if you throw in a quarterback like Derek Carr, that's instant improvement. I think any NFC South team would benefit from him. So best fits, yeah, sure, Carolina or Tampa Bay. I don't think New Orleans is necessarily ready. I think that team has, since Sean Payton left, has just boom, slowly going down. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, Kamara should be out of that place soon too. Uh that's a tough spot for the Saints because I think he visited them twice, if I'm not mistaken, and they went well. Stay away from New Orleans.
Going to the team with the quarterback in the hot seat, shaky defense, cap problems, shaky offensive line is a lot less desirable in my eyes for him long term because he wants to go to a place that's going to value him, and I think that'd be the Panthers before the Jets.
Definitely. Well, let's see. I hope Aaron Rodgers does go to New York. That'll be it. It takes me back. We spoke about the Brooklyn Nets not too long ago, and I said when you have an opportunity to put your franchise on that pedestal and you get those star players, you do it. You don't miss that opportunity. You take that opportunity over and over again. This is your time for the Jets. If a quarterback like that comes in on the market, you can't sit back and wait because you know what? Tampa Bay does not regret going all in after Tom Brady. Denver does not regret going all in on Peyton Manning. We're talking about one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time as well. You do not miss your chance because guess what? If you sit on your hands and you let Aaron Rodgers go anywhere else, you'll be watching the success that you could have had. Don't swing and miss.
That was an excellent point. And I don't think Aaron's going to age the way Brett Favre did. Where, I mean, Favre, by the age of 35, he was kind of done. He did have that MVP season, right? His last year in Green Bay, but it was rocky those years. I feel like with Aaron, he was still a top 10 quarterback, top 15 this year, right? And it was one of his worst season of his career with no support offensively. And, Favre's last 4 years in Green Bay were incredibly rocky. So that's my.
But even Favre with the Jets is that lone year. They got off to such a good start.
They did.
Such a good start. And some off the field issues and injuries derailed that team. But they were hot. They were coming off wins against New England and coming off wins against an undefeated Titans team. And from there, it just went downhill.
Yeah,
they were 7-3 at that point when they beat the Titans.
8-3, actually.
8-3, yeah. And they beat New England in New England.
In overtime, too. That was supposed to be a special year until they lost 4 of the last 5 games, and he went on to have a good year following in Minnesota. But with Aaron, he's just aged better, I think. So we talked about the NFC South. Now we have to discuss 2 of the top teams from the AFC South. The Titans yesterday made a lot of very big moves, releasing Taylor Lewan, Zach Cunningham, Rennie Bullock, their kicker, and Robert Woods after his first season. And in the process, they saved $42 million in cap space by cutting a handful of veterans, coming off injuries. Lewan has had back-to-back ACL tears on the same knee, and Woods was not quite the same player last year. The Titans are a funny team to me, J-Rat, where they don't have any massive need, but Mike Vrabel has a lot of different boxes he needs to check off. It's kind of crazy. Ryan Tannehill, do you know how old he is?
What, 34?
34 years old. He came into the league at 24. And he's also got a $36 million cap hit this season. And because of Malik Willis's, just lack of readiness last season, Malik Willis puts the Titans into a really tough spot where you took a draft and stash in the third round that you hoped would be able to fill in for Tannehill, and he just couldn't play in year one. So now you have the question, do we wait a year in Willis knowing, he's got such a low floor, even if he develops, it's going to be a low-end backup, or do we actually move up this year in the draft and maybe trade for a quarterback in the first round potentially, given there are other pressing needs on this team? So they have the 11th pick in the 42nd. What's your general feel on the Titans? Where do you think they can upgrade coming off a year where last two seasons they're second and first in injuries, and yet it's still hung right around the thick of the AFC, winning their division a year ago, getting the number 1 seed, and this year still almost winning it
And
in
not
spite
too
of
far out.
all of those injuries.
When going into the season, I looked at the Titans and I immediately said, "Yeah, this is going to be a down year." You get rid of AJ Brown, you lose Julio. While Julio didn't make that glaring impact, you still lose 2 big receivers. You're 1 and 2, and now you go out with Robert Woods and Traylon Burks. And while Traylon Burks started to come on towards of late, Robert Woods seems to be ecstatic to be out of Tennessee. I think he tweeted, "I'm free," after he got released. So, yeah, so he must have not liked it over there. But one thing about the Tennessee Titans, I'll say, is you can always expect them to be competitive. You can always expect a lot of fight out of this team because of Mike Vrabel. He's a very good coach. This will always be a well-coached team. Just missing that extra piece. And it's always been, for me, I've never felt like Ryan Tannehill was the guy to get them over the top. And while we might have seen his last days in Tennessee because that contract is a lot. So I don't know if they cut him, they'll be taking a massive cap hit, or if they trade him, I don't know what it will be like, but I could see them moving on from him at some point. I think Tennessee's just in this spot where you have an offense that's capable of a lot. And I'm not even referencing the weapons on the outside. I'm talking about the guy in the backfield who is an absolute nuclear weapon for an offense. Unstoppable. If he had an elite quarterback, if Aaron Rodgers was in Tennessee over the last 2-3 years, we might be talking about a Tennessee team that has visited the Super Bowl. Because we've seen this team get into the playoffs, and when it matters most, what happens? Their run game gets absolutely shut down after a while. And you're forcing Ryan Tannehill to beat you, and he hasn't. So for me, I think Tennessee really needs to go out there and find who is their franchise guy and just bite the bullet and say, okay, maybe Malik Willis isn't that, because the game looked way too fast for him. Way too fast. And Joshua Dobbs in his first game was dicing up Dallas.
He's out playing Trevor Lawrence too, okay.
Yeah. So I think you really need to find a guy. I don't know if that franchise quarterback is out there. That's the thing. Now with these draft experts, it feels like they're calling everybody a franchise potential quarterback. I mean, you're saying Anthony Richardson is the next big thing, and he hadn't had one big season in college. So Tennessee really needs to find their guy under center. And I feel like after that, things will start to take off for this team. Until then, I feel like they'll always be just a middle of the pack squad as far as what you're going to get. They might win a couple of games. They might squeeze into the playoffs, but they're not going to shock the world.
Yeah, Henry had himself another monster season, 1,500 on the ground, in his age 28 season, just turned 29. I feel like the Titans have a very underrated group of weapons, because last year Traylon Burks was not healthy, but when he played, he was really good. Kyle Phillips was a slot receiver they took in the 5th round of UCLA. He reminds me of Hunter Renfrow a little bit, but he was hurt almost the entire year. So you look at those two weapons. They also have this backup tight end named Chiga Conquil, who I felt like was making big-time plays at tight end as third string almost every couple of weeks, almost every week, with Austin Hooper and George Swam ahead of him, 2 free agents. They don't have many key, UFAs this offseason. The good news is they're probably not going to be a playoff team next year. And so you have multiple years of top 10, top 12 first-round draft picks to build out this offensive line. With Luan and his injuries and Ben Jones, their really good center, being definitely up there in age. What is he? He might be 34 plus. They really do need to get younger in the interior. Ben Jones is 33. And I also think defensively, they have a good amount of work to do as well in the secondary. Christian Fulton has been pretty good for them. They got on day 2, but they just really don't have a lot of substance. Mike Vrabel will maximize this group, but the roster's not good enough either right now. So if I'm Tennessee in the draft, I might be looking to go receiver at 11, but I think the best thing to do would be to trade back, get multiple draft picks to upgrade this roster, build out the line like I said. You've got a really good D-line, a really good one with Tart and Jeffrey Simmons. Those guys are studs. And they've got Lawn as well, Lawn Jr. He was great for them at linebacker this season. They can stop the run. It's really just a matter of filling out those other parts. And then next year, I think, when you win 6 or 7 games probably again in this division, you look to trade up for that quarterback, whether it's Drake May, there's the kid from Michigan, and there's also, of course, out of USC, Caleb Williams. Don't think they'll be in those sweepstakes. But the good news is with Mike Vrabel, you're not going to bottom out. And I think for as long as he's here, they're going to have a strong culture. I felt like that Robert Woods comment was kind of weird. I don't understand that because, he was brought in to be the number 2 receiver behind A.J. Brown. A.J. gets traded. This was a golden opportunity for him. He didn't play well at all. He stunk to death. So I don't know why he's making, obviously something behind the scenes. But, did they give you an opportunity to be a number 1?
Well, he probably wasn't happy with the quarterback play. Could you blame him?
The last month in December, I wouldn't, yeah. But, Tannehill's fine. They lacked explosiveness. That was the bigger issue, besides quarterback.
Yeah, check this out. Yeah, at 20 hours ago, at 1:03 p.m., he tweeted, free. And then next, he's already putting out, where should I go next?
Maybe if you're good. He was good years ago, but, he did not play well this last season, so...
I can see him right back in LA.
The Jacksonville Jaguars exceeded most of our expectations this last season. Now, were you official in predicting them to make the playoffs and win the AFC South?
No, I did have them coming in second, though. I did not have them making the playoffs.
So I do think you had them winning 8 or 9 games, though, right? Mm-hmm. They finished 9-8 with a much improved offense under Doug Peterson. They also were on the doorstep of the AFC Championship game. A very quick turnaround for a team that the last 2 years had the number 1 overall pick. Trevor Lawrence very quickly established himself as a top 10 quarterback, showing everything pre-draft that had people hyping him up was legitimate. And we knew that. We saw that towards the end of his rookie season, even if the numbers didn't bear that out. Now for Jacksonville, because of how successful they were this last year, they only have the 25th pick, which is a huge step back from recent years, and the 57th. You look at this roster, Justin, what do you think it's going to take another step forward? Their key free agents being Evan Ingram, Javon Taylor, Arden Key, Marvin Jones.
So for me, when I look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, obviously this is a team that doesn't have a lot of money to spend in the offseason. You're not going to see them break the bank the way they have in years past. So one thing I would love if they can re-sign Evan Ingram, a reliable weapon that Trevor Lawrence and him seem to clearly have a very good connection. You don't want to lose that. That offense was very good. And to pair that with what Calvin Ridley could possibly bring to this team makes this team very scary, at least on the offensive side of the ball. But next year, I think they'll have a lot more money to spend, some contracts coming off of the books. They would have to re-sign Josh Allen. But I think this team isn't too far off from potentially making a run. I think one possession game losing to the Chiefs 27-20. Prior to that, had won 6 straight, including their first playoff game against the Chargers. I think you want to shore up that secondary. I think you want it to be a kind of like a no-fly zone for you guys. Because when you have an offense capable of so much, you don't want Trevor Lawrence just carrying the weight of this team over and over again, which is what we saw. There were some games against Dallas and other teams where they had to make massive comebacks. The Chargers, a perfect example. So you don't want to fall that far behind and make your offense have to do that much. So if I'm the Jaguars, my first order of business is finding somehow, some way, shore up that defense. And they did that. They've gotten better. But I think for me, I'm a big sucker for lockdown corners. And if they could find themselves somebody, maybe a Jalen Ramsey is more interested in coming back to Jacksonville. I doubt it, but finding that lockdown guy to really shore up that secondary is vital to what the Jaguars can do next year going into the playoffs.
I would agree with you on that. They have Tyson Campbell, who was actually really good this year. I think he's starting to fit that lockdown description. Former 33rd overall pick. I think where they're going to upgrade things, that safety. Andre Cisco's good. They do need to add a little bit more, and they can upgrade there. I think for Jacksonville, the key is player development. Trayvon Walker this season was a project. We knew that. Showed some good flashes, but it's going to be a 2 or 3 year project until we understand how good he's going to be. Talked about Josh Allen on the other side. The theory of this Jacksonville team is coming to fruition. We gave a lot of praise to their general manager and Trent Baalke. They had a good offseason, but now it's no longer you have a bunch of money to spend. It's you have to have big time draft picks actually hit, because this window of Trevor Lawrence about 2 or 3 more years until you're paying him $45 million. And you can't surround him with Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, Travis Etienne. All those guys are going to be up for bigger deals. It's a younger offense. And so I think the best news is that Trevor Lawrence allows you to build a consistent playoff team and not just, a 1-year wonder in the postseason. It's a matter, though, supporting him with a developed offensive line. You start to upgrade, ideally, the secondary, and then add a little bit more to that front 7, too, in the interior. Once you do that, I think Cincinnati can beat a Cincinnati. I think Jacksonville can beat a Cincinnati and surely a Buffalo. Look at the AFC. I think the Jaguars next year could potentially go right back to the AFC Championship game, which they weren't this last year, but they can get to that level. They can beat a Buffalo who has no running game and is one-dimensional. Because with how well Travis Etienne played and how well that 2021 draft class has hit for them with T-Law, Etienne, and Tyson Campbell, it really just is a matter of player development. Because this is a team that can beat you in many different ways. And Trevor Lawrence, to me, is already a top 7 or 8 quarterback. When I'm really looking into it, Tom Brady retiring, I mean, he could establish himself. Let's do this question. Can Trevor Lawrence establish himself by next season as a top 5 quarterback?
I think Trevor Lawrence is my early favorite for MVP.
Really?
I'll go that far, yeah. I think Calvin Ridley is going to make an instant impact on this team. If we're getting the Calvin Ridley of 2 years ago, I think this Jacksonville squad I think their offense is going to soar. I really believe that. Another year with ETN in the backfield, who, when he was drafted, people were skeptical about it. Like, you had James Robinson, you didn't need ETN. It's paid off. It's paid off, and clearly Trevor Lawrence loves it. The Christian Kirk move. Oh, you overpaid for this slot guy. Well, he had a career year. He looked incredible this season. So you pair that with Zay Jones. Zay Jones, underrated wide receiver, had a good year in Vegas the year before, came in here and even showed out in Jacksonville. You're not going to get a 1,200 yard season out of him, probably not even 1,000 yard season.
No.
But if that's your number 3, you're in a good spot.
He's your 5th weapon, basically, with how well Travis has played.
Yeah.
And he's gotten better and better, too. He's only 27 years old.
So young. This whole team, this offense is young completely. Yeah. I think Calvin Ridley's 26, 27. Christian Kirk around the same.
Ridley's 28. Right. It took me a little bit because Ridley, I think he got drafted at 24. But yeah.
Oh, did he?
He's 28 years old. Yeah, he actually was a 20-year-old in high school. I saw a video in Florida because of his.
What?
I think, I don't want to get this wrong, but I think because in his area he missed a year of school, and so he was 19 or 20 as a senior.
Oh wow. You're right. For rookie years, he was 24 years old. I mean, looking at his numbers, he's a big red zone threat. 10 touchdowns in his first year, 7 in his second, 9 in his real breakout year where he caught for almost 1,400 yards.
He wins at all 3 levels, and you need somebody who can separate quickly, can win down the field, and the intermediate game will get those chunk plays. Christian Kirk was not always that. He's a great number 2, I think, and an amazing slot, but now you take him and you put him in that 3rd weapon role, and Evan Ingram gets another year of continuity. This offense is, in terms of the weapons, you don't need much more, and you can add in the draft a receiver in the 2nd rounds to back up Zay Jones if an injury comes next year. Like I said before, I guess you can upgrade the interior offensive line a little bit more and the defensive line, but I mean, that's something in the draft you can hit it in the 1st rounds, and I think it'll be good here. I do think next year this is an easy candidate to win 11 or 12 games. Absolutely. And in this division, man,
I think that's the big thing. I was gonna say that they're easy runaways to take this division. We don't know what the Colts are gonna look like. They have nobody under center. Houston's, I feel like, will be on the rise very soon. I think they'll nail on the draft this year, and if they do, maybe they'll make some noise this year. But I don't see them winning no division. I think this is Jacksonville's for the taking. Would have been in the MVP race this year.
In some ways, that was Trevor's rookie year we just saw.
Mhm.
There was
That's
nothing his rookie year.
That is scary.
Now, we're going to shift gears to the NBA. The Hawks yesterday fired Nate McMillan after 2.5, technically 2 years with the team. You know, I look at Trae Young, Justin, and I can't be the only person that's noticed this. For years, players haven't respected Trae Young. He gets snubbed in the Olympics, snubbed 2 of the last 3 years in the All-Star game. And to me, it was a lack of respect from players league-wide. And I think the reason why is because Trae Young comes off as one of the most selfish stars in all of basketball. Everything needs to be about Trae Young. Everything. The head coach doesn't like, he's gone. The head coach gets fired, he takes no accountability. DeJounte Murray is calling Nate McMillan, and he's saying all the right things. John Collins in his post-game interviews, and whenever he's asked about the media, he's always talking about accountability and leaders being responsible for their actions. And with Trae Young, McMillan gets fired, and he's skipping out of media availability. 2 months ago in December, Trae Young is skipping an NBA game because he got into a spat with Nate McMillan, and he's not even showing up to support his teammates on the sideline. I don't think in Atlanta the only issue is Trae Young. There are a couple of different roster problems. They haven't had their identity, but the Hawks are also a team that lacks chemistry. They're a team with a self-centric star that can't play off the ball, and defensively is arguably the worst starter in the league. So you need to surround Trae Young with all the right 3-and-D wings. You need to have him run 45 pick and rolls a game, and you need to have the right coach for him to allow him to just do his thing, Trae ball. But at the end, we know what Trae Young is. And that's not a top 10 player in the game. And yet he comes with all this baggage and a lack of leadership. And quite frankly, the reason no player respects him is because, while he had that year in 2021, it feels like everything needs to be about Trae Young at this point.
Listen, I'm no big fan of Trae Young whatsoever, but that's a biased reason. I'm a Knicks fan. Trae Young is an absolute stud. He can score at will, can shoot the ball with the best of them. But it's clear that his style of play he can't be the lead man on a championship team. It's very clear. And it's tough to say anything else but that, because if you can't be the lead man on a championship team and your offensive style is so, self-centric, how are you ever going to, welcome in another budding superstar that can be a number one if you can't play off ball, if you need the ball in your hands 24/7? I just don't see it working in Atlanta. And clearly, Nate McMillan being fired after getting them to a conference finals not too long ago, they've only went downhill from there. So I guess I'm not going to say the firing was justified, but there's a lot of things wrong with this Atlanta Hawks organization, and it goes far beyond Nate McMillan and Trae Young. Roster development, like you said, is a big reason why you spent how many draft picks to get DeJounte Murray?
3 firsts in a swap.
3 firsts in a swap, and he's not performing anywhere near the way that you would expect. He's not playing on the level of a Jalen Brunson. And the Knicks spent what to get him? No draft picks whatsoever, just salary cap. So you look at this team, I feel like there's a weird direction, because there's this talented player in John Collins who they seem to not want at all.
They're giving the Obi Toppin treatment, Justin.
Yeah, and he's so talented. And I've seen it firsthand, unfortunately. He's capable of a lot more than what the Hawks are actually allowing him to do. They've made it very clear that they don't want him there, yet they're holding on to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like this Atlanta Hawks team is going nowhere fast.
That's an excellent point. When the Hawks made the conference finals, we all knew that was their window and that it probably wouldn't be that open ever again. Mm-hmm. You talk about the Nets injuries, the Bucks trying to figure things out, and then Miami getting swept. Maybe it was, I don't even remember, but the Bryn Forbes series, they did get swept in the 2021 playoffs. Everything went their way that year. And Hawks fans knew, look, we didn't make it to the finals. That was our shot. The reality is, Trae Young is the next star that's probably going to want out. For the reasons you just laid out, he's not a star that's going to lead you to a championship, and the Hawks can tell. But the issue here is, it's not just that Trae Young is struggling to play off the ball and struggling to adapt and change his game to accommodate alongside another star. The Hawks don't actually want to win a championship. Their owner does not go into the luxury tax. That's why they moved Kevin Huerter and Justin Holiday. They haven't found a head coach. They've overhauled their entire front office because the owner's son is making moves every now and then. Literally, he was the deciding factor in whether or not they moved for Murray, when we all knew Murray was not going to be a needle mover in a conference that has a handful of superstars. DeJounte is a good player, and I think he could be a good number 2 on a playoff level team, which the Hawks are. They're the A seed.
Oh, no.
Not a team winning a playoff series. So for Atlanta, you said it perfectly. They're tied to the hip of this team. They're not going anywhere. They'd be lucky to win a playoff series in the next 2 years if you do everything to support Trae and maximize his skill set. It's kind of the issue here. They don't have the parts. They now lack a lot of the assets. And with Nate McMillan being fired, I think it's one of the latest additions of star. It's hard to fit, hard to work with. Front office hasn't done a great job in the draft. There's a team that treated Luka Doncic for Trae Young. And lastly, and that's not only the only draft mistake, by the way. The Hawks took DeAndre Hunter over Darius Garland. And I don't want to nitpick here, but man,
DeAndre Hunter has been a good player, but not what you wanted,
exactly.
When you had that.
But the Hawks wanted the second star. They took Garland over Hunter. They then took Onyeka Okongwu over Tyrese Halliburton. What? What are we doing here? Tyrese would have been amazing for this team. He can play off the ball. And now you find yourselves in a position where DeAndre is making a lot of money to be a pretty average forward. Mm-hmm. He's not something to write home about for a top 5 pick that's missed a lot of time in injuries. Is a good defender, but not a superb one. I mean, you're ranked 21st in defensive rating when you're starting DeJounte, DJ, or DH, and Clint Capella. So clearly those 3 defensive players are not that good. That's another issue here. Clint Capella has not been the player he was in the Eastern Conference Finals run. I think a lot of things are really leading to this Hawks team's disappointment this year. And while things should get better for them with the new head coach, there's a lot of great ones on the market. I am very concerned that where this is headed with Trae Young.
That's the biggest question, is where do you go from there? Is Trae Young that superstar that's going to put you on that next level? Because like I said, you need to find pieces that complement him. But when somebody's so selfish too, it's how can you do that? And who's the star to complement him? Can you even think of one off the top of your head?
The perfect one is not available. He's from Atlanta. His name is Jaylen Brown.
Damn, that would be nice. Yeah, but he's not going anywhere.
Another one I think of is Chris Middleton, somebody that can play a secondary role.
Yeah, Chris Middleton's a perfect Robin, but like I said, I don't know if he's the needle mover for Atlanta either.
He's not.
A guy like Jaylen Brown, absolutely. If you could go all in on somebody like that, sure. But I don't see Boston letting that duo go. That duo is too special to separate.
Now, keep in mind, the same offseason in 2024, DeJounte is a free agent, so is Jaylen. So that should be interesting. And, dude, one thing a lot of people don't notice, this head coaching market is outstanding. So, Ime Udoka, Kenny Atkinson, Quinn Snyder, Mike D'Antoni as well, but I think he's done coaching at 71. I mean, the Hawks do have a lot of different candidates here that can go with. Some of the reports are that Udoka and assistant on the Bucks, Charles Lee, are in the running. For them, they really need a culture builder. So I wouldn't be opposed to hiring Kenny Atkinson. I say that for like all the teams though in the league that need to build a culture.
He did a great job with Brooklyn, and I feel like he got kind of the shorthand when the big guys came through. I feel like he could have created something very special, but Kenny Atkinson would be a perfect person, especially when it comes to player development, helping them draft well, grow their young players. But you have to find yourself a coach that can deal with a personality like Trae. I'm assuming John Collins will be out of the door this season after the season's over.
No, they're just going to do this for his entire career.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe. We have no idea how they plan on.
I'll be dead when they trade him.
I think he'll be forcing his way out eventually if he hasn't tried already.
He's got 2 years left in this contract, so that's going to be interesting to see it play out.
Man,
So
feel bad.
I do too. He's actually a great dude. They're always leaking reports about him having character issues, which I don't get. Real quick, I want to discuss some of these buyout signings. The buyout market to me is not ever that fruitful, which is why I want to have it be quick. So,
Okay.
Russell Westbrook signed with the Clippers. Your initial thoughts? Is this the point guard the Clippers need?
No. Listen, I think Russell Westbrook has since last year at least has grown a little bit more fonder in people's minds. He's not chucking up air balls the way he was last year. They were putting him in the spotlight, kind of making him the scapegoat for the reason why the Lakers just were bad. But I don't feel like he's the needle mover for the Clippers whatsoever. No, when there's other so many good point guards out there, and Russell Westbrook, wow, a complimentary piece that could benefit you in a championship run. Absolutely. He's a vet, future Hall of Famer. Can't go wrong. But can he mesh with Paul George? Can he mesh with Kawhi Leonard? Is he that perfect guy to run a second unit? Is he starting?
The reports are that they're going to test it later on.
See, that's a big question. I feel like for a second unit, he's an absolutely great piece to have. But I don't know seeing him be a starter for the Clippers. I don't know how I feel about that.
I feel like he'll come off the bench and the playoffs, he won't close the game for them. You know, the Clippers have an emphasis on players that are versatile and, let's be honest, guys that can complement PG and Kawhi. So it seems like Russ can make his debut today. All-Star break officially is ending. I just think Tyronn Lue is too smart of a head coach to actually, this early in the regular season, say, let's see what Russ has with those 2 stars. You want a Mike Conley, a low usage, low key kind of spot up shooter that can run pick and roll and is reliable in closing games. That won't make poor decisions. The Clippers don't play today. Why was that report saying that he could?
They don't play today?
No, they don't. They play the Kings tomorrow.
Friday.
There's a report that said that they played today, which is false. Man, Russ is nice for a lot of teams that have a fast pace and they want to play up tempo, but the Clippers are 25th in pace this year. They have a lot of shooting, but they don't want to take the ball out of Kawhi and PG's hands. It's going to be in theirs at large. So you got to be able to shoot the ball. And I think in today's NBA, if you can't shoot in the half court, you're not going to be a good player if you're below 6'5", 6'4". Perkins was saying, which I think is pretty true. But at least with Russell Westbrook in the past, he had that finishing athleticism. But as that gear started to go and the shot has never developed, what he's become is a backup point guard. An exciting one, a former MVP. But it kind of reminds me of Carmelo Anthony in his days in Houston, getting waived by the Hawks. The player that can't come to grips with a new role he has to play. Now, Russ has come off the bench, sure. But what I mean by that is, Melo never took care of his body and he started to fall apart at 34. Russ never developed a three-point shot. And the most accomplished guards can play off the ball. They don't need it in their hands to be effective. So now in his career, he's trying to win a championship, and that won't happen with him in the rotation if he's shooting 29 or 26% from 3.
No. You mentioned Mike Conley. That would have been the perfect fit for a Clippers team. Mike Conley, I feel like, could slide into any team and complement any of their stars. He's a very good point. Yeah, he's the perfect fit. So it's a shame they couldn't get that done. But not to knock Russ. Russ is a very good player, like I said, a future Hall of Famer, and he will make his impact. But is it like I said, I don't think it's the needle mover for a Clippers team that has bigger aspirations than just winning 2 playoff series. No, their goal is to win an NBA Finals. When you got those 2 stars, you got to jump on it now. So I don't know what Russ is going to look like for this team. Definitely not one of the teams I expected to be going, all in for him, but here we are.
I thought, there were not many attractive destinations.
Yeah.
Chicago does not play fast, nor do the Heat, and those are 2 of the other teams in the running. Yeah, I mean, this is where you get with a player that doesn't fit. He fits in 2 places, Charlotte and Washington. And even the Wizards, I mean, their pace has come down since trading him, of course. Now, talking about, I think, a more needed buyout option is that, I mean, Miami has had no power forward this season. They've tried Hayward Highsmith, where they're a -8 per 100 possessions. They even tried Caleb Martin there, and he's a small forward. But now the Heat are signing Kevin Love after being bought out by the Cavaliers. Given the team has dropped off from first to 28th this year in three-point percentage, you think Kevin Love can make a pretty sizable impact here and maybe help Miami win a first-round series in a jam-packed Eastern Conference?
I love Kevin Love. I've always been a big fan of him from his days way back in Minnesota. I think he's bringing back number 42 also in Miami. So I think this is a move that all Miami fans, and I hope Brandon is excited about. I think he's another guy that fits into any system. He'll knock down the corner three for you, set you up big moments, smart player, has played in the big stage multiple times. I think you can't go wrong with this move. Fitting into Miami, and he and Bam Adebayo are already chatting it up on Twitter. I think Miami fans have a lot to be excited about.
I
It's
think
a good move.
I think you make a great point there. I mean, him switching to 42 is sick. That's awesome. They're also signing Cody Zeller, who spent this last year in Portland. He's not the guy he was. He might be an upgrade over their former backup in Dwayne Dedmon, but I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly. They're not a team that plays fast, and so those hit-ahead passes he makes in transition will be few and far between. But offensively, they've been starved of the spot-up shooting. And you can put him and Tyler Hero on the floor together because of Hero's defensive improvements with Bam, with Jimmy, and say Gabe Vincent. I think on the defensive end, those guys will hold up because you have, a top 3 defender in the league in Bam that can make up for, I guess, their deficiencies moving laterally or switching, whatever it may be, around the rim.
No. Now, Kevin Love, I hope Brandon is excited, man.
Yeah.
K Love is an awesome player. It's a player that I've wanted on the Knicks for a long time. My dream was when he was playing in Minnesota. I was like, oh, I would love to see 42 in the Garden. It didn't pan out that way. But he went on to greener pastures. Lucky him.
Yeah, man. Do you think Kevin Love's a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, I would say so.
So he only
But listen, but the thing is, for the NBA, I feel like a lot of people just get into the Hall of Fame that
you're in the
I
Hall,
would
really
argue. Yeah, it's the Hall of Very Good for the NBA. They just let popular players go in. So while I don't view him as, top tier, yeah, he'll get in.
It's weird. I asked that question because he only has 2 All-NBA seasons. Because in 2 of his years in Minnesota, in 2013, I guess that was the only year he was banged up. He played 18 games in his age 24 season. And in Cleveland, he only made 2 All-Star games. He never averaged 20 points. His Cleveland tenure was really weird. He actually fell out the rotation this year and just wasn't the guy we saw in Minnesota because he was playing a spot-up role. So I don't know. I think he does with the championship, and I'm pretty sure he won a gold medal, but don't quote me on that.
Let's see.
To me, Kevin Love and LaMarcus Aldridge, who have more longevity, those guys right on the board, or Blake Griffin as well. In my Hall of Fame, John Tortorelli's, they wouldn't make it. But also, Kevin Love's a great human being, just a phenomenal person that stood up for mental health, has been a great teammate in Cleveland last year, resurged and became a 6th Man of the Year candidate. I mean, the way he's kind of evolved, come off the bench, you know what? I might change my mind there. He's a 5-time All-Star, an NBA champion, most improved player. I think Kevin Love has done enough to get in.
Where do you put him next to guys like Pau Gasol?
Ooh. Pau Gasol, I mean, he has 2 championships. He was a best player on a playoff team. He was winning 48 games in a completely jam-packed Western Conference. I think Pau would be, he's definitely a finalist this year. I'm pretty sure he's going to get in. Pau also had that late career resurgence, too, in Chicago. He made 2 All-Star teams. So
That's true.
I think Gasol is a clear-cut Hall of Famer, especially as an international player. He was a great player before coming to the league, 19. I think Pau is a first ballot player, to be honest with you. His impact international, he was the missing piece for Kobe. Yeah, man. I mean, Pau Gasol is one of the most underrated careers.
Yeah, I'm looking at their numbers. It's I don't know why I thought of him to compare. Kevin Love, 17.2 points per game for his career. Pau Gasol, 17. Total rebounds, Kevin Love, 10.5 points per game. Rebounds per game. Pau Gasol, 9.2. Pau had more assists, but they're very similar.
I agree because, Pau spent his early years in Memphis, then went to a championship caliber team with Kobe. With K-Love, is the same thing. It's funny, when the Cavs acquired Kevin Love, he was supposed to be the number 2 on that team. And Kyrie is the former number 1 overall pick. He was supposed to be the third option. And in 2015, all of that changed, of course, because K-Love basically became a corner 3-point specialist.
Yep.
But yeah, man, Pau came to the league at 21, not 19. 2 Hall of Fame power forwards, for sure.
Yeah, I think he gets in easily. Like I said, I'm personally, those aren't numbers that stand out and make me say, wow, Hall of Fame. But being that the track that the NBA seems to be going down with their Hall of Fame, let them all in. Everybody's in.
DeMar DeRozan?
No.
Good. I've seen a lot of people ask that question. I've even heard some say yes. That to me is the
Toronto.
cutoff point.
The Toronto fans probably.
You have to have a playoff resume to get in the Hall of Fame. Sorry. So I'm looking to see any. It's true. Truth hurts. I'm looking to see if there's any NFL news, and there's none, quite frankly. So anything else like to add for wrap up this episode?
No, I'm just itching for baseball to start, man. Very, very excited. I've been seeing a lot of live batting practices. Luis Severino throwing to Aaron Judge, other guys. Yeah, it's just so exciting. I can't wait till April. I think opening day is March 30th. I already got my tickets. I'm getting ready for this journey that normally leads to disappointment. But
so talking about the disappointment, Justin, who was your way too early World Series champion pick?
You really want me to answer this?
Yes.
Okay, not biased. I think this is the year.
Okay.
No, I mean, I do believe this is the year.
All right.
I like the moves that we made in the offseason, the addition of Carlos Rodon to our rotation as well. A healthy Sevy, a healthy Cortez to pair with Cole and Rodon, I think take us a long way. Our bullpen, if healthy, no more Aroldis Chapman, he's gone. Some healthy relievers, Ron Marinaccio stepping up this year. Yeah, he stepped up last year, and his rookie season was absolutely spectacular. Somebody I could see taking on an even bigger role for the Yankees this year in the pen. I think the Yankees are in a good spot. Hopefully, Anthony Volpe will be in the starting lineup, or Oswald Peraza as well. My biggest concern is who's playing third base for us long term this year. I don't want it to be Josh Donaldson, but we'll see. Who's playing left field? Is it going to be Giancarlo Stanton getting most of the reps out in left, or is he going to be staying at DH? We can do a lot to improve, but I do think on paper right now, I think we're the best team in baseball.
Last year, people were not saying that about the Yankees, if memory serves.
Oh, we went on a run that was absolutely spectacular, and then we just dropped off. But we were on a stretch where we were the number 1 team in baseball for a while. Had the best record in the American League, best record in baseball, in fact. And yeah, we ended up falling off a cliff for a while, and Houston ended up overtaking us. But I think we're building a team that's designed to beat Houston. Nobody else but Houston. And I don't know if we've done enough to do that just yet, but I do think come July and August, when we make our moves at the deadline, I think we're going to get it right this year. There's no way we can't do it again, man. Can't lose to Houston again. We hit rock bottom. We got swept. It won't happen like that.
How many times is this now against the Astros?
Lost way back, I believe in 2014 or 2015 in a wild card game. Lost in 2017 in the ALCS. Lost in 2019 in the ALCS. Yeah. This is like 4 times now.
Hex.
Yeah, I know.
It's like the Steelers and the Patriots, or
and now we get swept.
The 49ers and the Packers, a great one. Yeah. Should be exciting baseball season, man. That's what the Yankees have.
Man. I'm pumped up. New York baseball is going to be very good. I mean, if there's one sport that actually gives us some hope, it's baseball in this city.
Yeah. Jets are coming. Aaron Rodgers. With all that being said, I'll wrap up episode number 78 of the Wisecast podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Stay to the very end. And as always, we'll see you next time. Peace.
Stay classy.